guys so much for spending a few minutes with me. Before we get started, please take a second to hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on any of the podcasting service, please drop a rating for me. 5 stars, nothing less, of course. As my man Bomani says, if you drop 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. Don't be a hater. And please drop a comment, okay? Drop a comment. You can comment now on Spotify. You can comment on SoundCloud. And by all means, subscribe. Subscribe so that you get this hot fire content that I'm dropping each and every day. Every time it comes out, hot and fresh and new and ready for you. You will get it right in your feeds. And so, that was a little delayed, but you get the point. That was a little bit delayed, but you get the point. Listen. Once again, I appreciate every comment. I try to reply to every comment. I appreciate every share, every retweet. Every single interaction is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. I'm someone who will never, ever, 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 ever take these interactions for granted. Like I said, you got so much choice out there for content, and I appreciate you, like I said, just taking out a few minutes of your day to spend with me. The most important thing you can do if you want to help out the show is tell a friend to tell a friend, share this with somebody else. If you know somebody who's a wrestling fan, if you know somebody who, would love or hate my takes, drop it in their inbox, drop it in their comment section. Let people know this is a show out here that, you think is great or you think is terrible. Because listen, either way, I'm here for it. I'm here for the smoke, baby. I'm here for the smoke. If you hate my takes, okay, if you think that, what I'm saying is nonsense, come on at me. Come on at me, baby. I'm here for it all. I'm here for it all. So, what are we going to get into today? So, today, we're going to say goodbye to one of my favorite shows. And I'm going to tell you why Insecure got the finale right, where so many other shows got it wrong. I'm going to reminisce on an album that changed J.COLE's career, and I'm going to tell you why Big E's title run might be in trouble this weekend at WWE Day 1. But before I do any of that, before I get into any of that, excuse me, my sound's going crazy right now. Before I get into any of that other stuff, we got to talk about your girl, Brandi Rhodes. We got to talk about your girl, Brandi Rhodes, because Brandi was at it again. I mean, listen, so often when we get Brandi, we hear from her, she's corporate Brandi. Okay, she's corporate Brandi. She's the, chief branding officer for All Elite Wrestling and a high-ranking executive and official in the business. But every now and then, we get this Brandi.
Oh, hell no.
Okay, all right. Every now and then she walks out here and it's like, I didn't know it was open mic night.
Oh, hell no.
And more often than not, when we get that Brandi, we are the ones who end up saying,
oh, hell no.
Oh, hell no. Because Brandi, she just, when she's going off, okay? When she's going off on her tangents, sometimes she can just take it a little bit too far. And she does it with the best intentions, I think. I don't think she's trying to cause damage to her reputation, or I don't think she's trying to cause a stir in the Twitterverse or anything like that. But it just, it's just the way it comes out, man. The way it comes out causes a stir. And for those of you who didn't see, this past week on was it Dynamite? I lose track of what day it was. It was Dynamite. So this past week on Dynamite, she was cutting a promo against Dan Lambert. Okay, Dan Lambert is an excellent talker. Absolutely excellent talker. There is no way around it. And Dan Lambert was telling Brandi that he wanted to be the one to smack the taste out of her mouth or something to that effect. Something to that effect. And Brandy decided that she wanted to come back and retort with this beautiful gem of a line right here. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. This audio is... Oh no, oh no, oh no. She said, so you're a black belt, well, I'm a black bitch. Let's go. Brandy. I don't blame Brandy so much for this because I don't believe Brandy has people in her circle that can properly filter stuff like this. Now, the last time Brandy did one of her open mic night promos, I was 1,000% sure that Big Swole ghost wrote that. I could be wrong. Swole, if you listen to this, check me, correct me, let me know if you had a hand in that or not. But it just sounded like Big Swole. It sounded like Brandy doing her impression of what Big Swole sounds like when she gets riled up. That's what it sounded like the last time Brandy did one of her open mic night promos. And this time, I mean, I'm sorry. I am sorry. It sounds very forced. Which again, a lot of wrestling does. A lot of wrestling promos do because a lot of these people are like, they're not natural orators, right? They're not people who will naturally get up in front of a room full of people. Like, public speaking is one of people's biggest fears. So a lot of people are not natural getting on a microphone and acting out a character. Again, we have to remember these people are playing a character. But it's just okay. So let me tell you what felt weird about this. What felt weird about this was not Brandy sassing Dan Lambert. I mean, so much about this felt weird. Okay, like him openly talking about wanting to fight her and all of this stuff. And I'd be shocked to the heavens if Dan Lambert's not a MAGA. And he has a lot of that energy. And so with him giving off so much of that glorious MAGA energy. And standing here, talking this kind of stuff to a black woman, it just felt horribly cringe, horribly uncomfortable, like crazy, crazy, crazy. And so then for that to be Brandy's like go home line, like I'm a black bitch, I was just like, it felt weird, man. It felt weird. It felt uncomfortable. It felt wrong. It's not that as a man, right? I do not claim to have domain over what women can say about themselves or anything like that. But this reminded me of the movie Higher Learning. And I know that in the movie Higher Learning, it was reversed. There was a frat boy who was arguing with a black woman on campus. And he says, what did he say? He said, "Put her on the phone, you black bitch." And I was just like, oh man. And that was like the tipping point that caused this whole major fight scene through Busta Rhymes and Ice Cube, and like all the brothers went to the frat house and they dragged him out on the lawn and made him apologize to Regina King and all of this. And even though Brandy was the one saying it, that's still how it felt. And I'm gonna tell you why it felt that way to me. I can't speak for anyone else. I need to get a black woman's insight and take on this because, I need to get their perspective on it. But for me, that felt weird because that's the thing he says about you when you're not there. Okay, Brandy? That's the thing he says about you when you're not there. That's the thing that the white men, when they're standing around talking, and they're like, oh, that black bitch, blah, 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 right? That's what they say about you. So for you to say it about yourself, it felt weird. It felt weird. It felt like you were like acknowledging his take on it almost. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like you were empowering yourself, right? You weren't like saying like, oh, this bitch is the wrong one to mess with. You know what I mean? Like first of all, I feel like half the women in AEW call themselves that bitch or the baddest bitch or some version of a bitch in an empowering way, right? In an empowering way. But that didn't feel like an empowering way. That felt like the insult. The way you said it felt like the insult, right? Again, you're a black belt? Well, I'm a black bitch. And it just felt like it missed. It just felt like it missed. It didn't feel like that was like the intended reaction, right? Like, I don't think that was the intended reaction from the from the crowd, from the audience. I mean, like, I need more people to weigh in on this because I need to, I need to see some other people, how they felt, how that line hit, how it landed with them. Because like I said, to me, it felt weird, man. It felt weird. It felt like you were, you were speaking to a white man, right? But it felt like you were speaking to a white man about a black woman, which you were. But it's weird when you're the black woman in that situation. You know what I mean? It was just weird. It was just weird. So I had to touch on that. That had to be the top of my show because that was weird to me. Yeah, Brandy. You never cease to amaze. But like my man Duke said, if y'all have not heard this week's episode of Duke Loves Wrestling, he actually had a Brandy Rose rant about something completely different. Similar, but completely different. But he hit it right on the head, and he's, the gist of what he said is, look, Brandy, even though, she might have some missteps with black community, like she's still our sister. Black people, even though sometimes we don't show it, we understand and we accept the fact that there is nuance to blackness in a way that some people don't often respect, right? And even though Brandy appears to be surrounded by white people on all sides, taking her advice and bouncing things off white people from all sides, and a line like that is a perfect example, right? Like she might have red velvet in her corner, but I feel like, again, a lot of the I feel like AEW is a very white space. You know what I mean? Especially like backstage. So she might have other black people around her, but how many of the black people around her are willing to say, I don't know if that's a good look. You know what I mean? And would she listen to him? I don't know. But all that said, yet and still, regardless, Brandy, you still, you still our sister. We still ride for you. You know what I mean? We still gonna back you up, when people try to get funny with you. Because look, we can see what's surrounding you. You know what I mean? So when those things come up, as they inevitably will, we still gonna be here for you. You know what I mean? We still gonna be here for you. We still gonna support you. When these white spaces that you're in turn around and attack you. So it is what it is. But just Brandy, listen, just call Swole. She might not feel the best about y'all right now, but call her. Just call her and say, hey, Swole, I want to run this by you. I'm gonna say something on TV, and I need somebody to black check it. Don't fact check it, black check it. I need somebody to black check my words before I go on TV. Call Swole. Matter of fact, get Swole back on payroll and say, Swole, maybe we not gonna have you wrestler. Maybe we not gonna have you wrestle, but we're gonna have you be the official Brandy Rhodes black checker. We're gonna have you black check it to make sure it don't get her roasted out here in the Twitter streets. I think that's money well spent. Okay? That's a six-figure job. That's a six-figure job right there. Okay? Protect Brandy from herself. I think somebody, if anybody cut the check on that, I think everybody would be happy, right? I think everybody would be happy. We could clap for that. All right, so that's that. A lot of people are doing. I see a lot of people doing their year-end awards in the wrestling world. And, I've noticed a consistent theme in most of them, and it's that Impact Wrestling seems to be missing in most of them. Now, look, I get it. Impact Wrestling has a bad perception. There's a bad perception of Impact Wrestling out there, and that's the number one problem with Impact Wrestling. That's their main problem, and I'm here to tell you it's their own fault. It's Impact Wrestling's own fault. The problem with their perception, because they need to be the ones to go out there and fight that, right? They gotta create some marketing campaigns to change that perception that nobody's watching the show, that people don't like it, that people don't tweet about it, that you can't find the show online or wherever it is, right? Like the truth is everybody has access to Impact Wrestling because it's on YouTube, right? It's on YouTube, but there's a running joke that you can't find Impact Wrestling anywhere, right? Which again, is their own fault. It's their own fault because of, the bouncing around from network to network, to going to obscure network after obscure network. And so a lot of that is their own fault. I don't fault anybody else for getting these jokes in where there's an opportunity to get these jokes in. As a matter of fact, I would say it's your responsibility to get these jokes in where they can get these jokes in. But when it comes time to talking about people's accomplishments in the world of wrestling, I would just, give people a fair shake. You know what I mean? Give people a fair shake. And I just believe that this year in particular, you cannot have a conversation about female wrestlers that have had standout years and not mention Deonna Purrazzo. You have to mention Deonna Purrazzo. I think that when you look around the landscape of wrestling, nobody outside of the WWE AEW umbrella has had a bigger year than Deonna Purrazzo. I mean, was that news? Was that revolutionary? Did I just drop a bomb on you? I'll drop another one. Look, Deonna Purrazzo. Okay, like you know what she's done. You know what she's done this year. She's main evented pay-per-views for Impact Wrestling, for NWA, and their all women's pay-per-view that made all the news. Everyone was so excited about this all women's pay-per-view. She's been the Impact Knockouts champion for most of the year. She's been the AAA women's champion for most of the year. She's about to breathe life back into the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. Who else is doing that? She's doing Kenny Omega's belt collector gimmick better than Kenny Omega is doing it. Stop me when I'm telling a lie. Now look, I can't, and I won't ever try to downplay or shade the year that Bianca Belair has had. Bianca Belair, ladies and gentlemen, you have to give Bianca Belair her props. Give it up for Bianca Belair. Anytime you're going to give it up for, like I said, any woman, and talk about the year they've had, you cannot deny, you can't front on the year that Bianca Belair's had. She won the Royal Rumble. She went on to main event WrestleMania with Sasha Banks. And by the way, Bianca Belair's match with Sasha Banks at WrestleMania was excellent. It was absolutely excellent. There's no denying, no fronting. Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, in my opinion, had a better WrestleMania main event than Roman Reigns. I don't care. I said it. And that's not a diss to Roman Reigns. I'm just saying that Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks killed it. That video package leading up to that match, phenomenal. One of the best ones I've seen in years. Bianca Belair, and by the way, I am very critical of WWE and their treatment of black wrestlers, especially when they do put a black wrestler in a position to shine, such as a world title position. They often will give them the title, but won't let them be the feature player, right? Like we've seen this a few times, right? We've seen this the way they did with Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston had that title for 6 months and was almost never the main event of the show, right? The only good story they told with Kofi in that 6 months that you could sink your teeth into was the callback to his feud with Randy Orton from like 2009 or whenever that was, when, you know, it's alleged that Randy Orton politicked to cut Kofi's legs out when he was going to get a push. They told one good story with Kofi Kingston in 6 months, and then you saw the way they did Kofi Kingston when he lost that title, and he has not sniffed the main event picture since then. It was super foul. And I worry that they might try to do the same thing to Bianca Belair, but they haven't. Now, what's not Bianca Belair's fault is the fact that they hadn't built up a bunch of good challengers for her. And the truth is, it's more fun to watch the babyface chase the title. It's a more interesting story. The fans can really get behind it. And Bianca's build was kind of fast. And so people didn't really have a chance to get behind the chase. A little bit, but I would say not fully. Not in the way that they can now with what they're doing with Becky Lynch, by the way. I think everybody's really excited about Liv Morgan, but I think a lot of people are going to be a little bit upset when they see the outcome of Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, because I don't think that title is coming off Becky Lynch until WrestleMania when Bianca Belair takes it away. Yep, that's right. Bianca Belair should be the next person to take that title off of Becky Lynch and nobody else. I don't care how much you like Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is cool, but Bianca Belair, she should be the next Raw Women's Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't tell lies. I don't make the news. I just report it. But back to what I was saying. Bianca Belair had a phenomenal year. There's no way to downplay that. I never would. I never could. Okay. Brit Baker, another person people will mention in the category of female wrestlers who've had the best year. And Brit Baker's had a great year, right? Like I got love for Brit Baker. But the thing about Brit Baker is this, right? And again, this is not to take away at all from what Brit Baker has accomplished. Brit Baker is clearly one of the most popular acts in AEW, and that means a lot. But Brit Baker is someone who has been given every single possible tool and chance you can ask for to succeed. She's on again the second biggest promotions TV show. They put her all over the place. They feature her so well, and again, she's been uplifted and propped up in a way that you just can't say the same thing for Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo is headlining multiple promotions shows. She's carrying multiple promotions championships, and she's doing it on a brand, being primarily a member of the most damaged breast. God, damaged breast. What am I thinking about? She's doing it being primarily a member of the wrestling show with the most damaged brand name in all of professional wrestling. Like Impact Wrestling, again, I'm a big fan of their work, of their show. I've been watching it for years. I still enjoy it. They have one of the best TV shows week to week out of anybody, to be honest. But their brand name is trash. Like, people still think about Impact Wrestling as, that day that Spike TV dropped the day that TMZ dropped the tweet that Spike TV was canceling Impact Wrestling, it was over. There was almost no recovering. And it's amazing that they've still, been around this long. But that's what people think about when they think of Impact Wrestling. And the fact that Deonna Purrazzo is out here thriving for this company, that she's out here main eventing other promotions shows, that she's out here challenging for other promotions world titles, that should tell you everything you need to know about, it's not about just telling you what you need to know about her, but it's just about giving credit where credit is due. This year for Deonna Purrazzo has been a body of work that you just can't front on. Okay, again, I like saying DMD as much as anybody else. It's fun. But after that, what is there? What is there with Brit Baker after that? And again, this is not downplaying. Like, she's a fine wrestler, and she's tough as hell. Like, she definitely won me over, with her toughness. Like, she had a phenomenal match with Thunder Rosa this year that I absolutely loved. And one thing she's great at is when she feels that blood trickling down her cheek, she finds the camera. She's like, "Am I bleeding? Oh, am I bleeding? Check it out. Look at it. Yeah, I'm bleeding. Check it out." Right? But we all love Brit Baker. And listen, you can give somebody props without diminishing somebody else. And I'm not trying to diminish anything that Brit Baker has accomplished, but I just think the fact that Deonna Purrazzo has done more with less. And so you got to give Deonna Purrazzo her credit, man. Another thing, Josh Alexander had a phenomenal year in Impact Wrestling. He put on a 60-minute Iron Man match with TJP, which I thought was phenomenal. To me, that was one of the best matches I saw all year. And I don't hear anybody mentioning that when they start talking about, like, match of the year. Somebody, told me the other day, oh, well, Deonna Purrazzo was on a show that did like 78,000 views last week. And I'm like, bruh, listen, if you don't watch the show and you can't talk about it, just say that. Just say, I'm not up on the product, I don't watch the show. Just say that. But don't try to diminish the quality of the work by justifying it by saying it's not as popular. Like, that's trash. Like, that's like saying, that's like saying, oh, well, Kendrick Lamar put out an album that only did, X amount of streams, so it doesn't matter. It can't be in the conversation for one of the best albums of the year because it didn't sell as much as Drake. You know what I mean? Like, that's trash. What kind of argument is that? Like, that's just total trash. Like, again, if you haven't watched the product, if you're not keeping up with it, that's one thing. Just say that. Just say that. But don't try to act like their work is not as relevant, if it's not as worthy of respect because less people watch the show on a week-to-week basis. Swig of water. Swig of water for the working man. one thing that's coming up this year, I mentioned we got our end of the year awards coming out. A lot of people are giving an end of the year award, so we know it's the end of the year. And because we know it's the end of the year, we know that the start of the new year is right around the corner. And WWE is going to start a tradition of Saturday pay-per-views, and it's going to start this Saturday with WWE Day 1. And one of the big matches coming up on this show is Big E. You know, Big E defending his WWE Championship in a 4-way match against Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins. And I gotta tell you, man, it's not looking good for Big E. I'm gonna break this down for you here. Just from a storytelling standpoint, they're not telling Big E's story here. I know. I mean, like, they're telling the stories of, you know, Seth Rollins, of him, you know, winning a contract for a match, and then, you know, of Kevin Owens weaseling his way into a match, and of Bobby Lashley absolutely dominating everybody and, you know, finding his way into the match. And if you look at Raw from week to week to week, Big E is playing a small bit part in these other people's stories. So I don't, you know, just from a storytelling perspective, they're not telling a story of Big E's triumph. You know what I mean? They're not telling a story that ends with Big E triumphant. They're telling stories of, you know, Kevin Owens. They're telling stories of Seth Rollins. They're telling stories of Bobby Lashley, but they're not telling a story of Big E. Now, just because that's the story that they're actually telling doesn't mean that's what they're going to do. If you've been following WWE, you know that what they plan and what they do on TV is not necessarily what's going to happen on the show. Prime example. This is the same company that from November to April told us a story of Sting showing up to fight Triple H and the Authority because Triple H was overreaching with his power. He was abusing his power, and Sting wanted to slow down Triple H from overstepping his power as a member of the Authority. Then we get to April, and all of a sudden, Sting is here so that DX and the NWO can have it out one last time. I mean, what? What? That made no sense to me. I mean, I was furious watching that when I watched that WrestleMania match play out, because Sting specifically went on Monday Night Raw and said, "I'm not here to rehash WCW. That's old news." And then what do when we get to WrestleMania? It's WCW versus WWE. So I mean, look, just because WWE tells you one story on TV doesn't mean that's the story they're going to pay off at the pay-per-view. I'm just saying. But if you look at the story they've been telling, it doesn't look good for Big E. You know, now look, could that change on the day of the show? Absolutely. But I will say this, similarly to what I said about Bianca Belair earlier, Big E, we never as fans got a chance to invest in a title chase. He got the Money in the Bank briefcase and he held it kind of quickly. And he literally just announced on Twitter, "I'm cashing in my Money in the Bank briefcase tonight." And I'm like, man, that all felt really cheap. Now, of course we tuned in. Because if you announce you're going to do a cash in, I want to see the cash in, right? So he announced he was going to cash in. He cashed in. He was the champion. It was a big deal. It was cool. But that wasn't like a heartwarming story that made you, you know, really feel connected to Big E as a champion. You know what I mean? And I don't know that that's been good for his run as WWE champion. So I wouldn't mind having Big E lose the title at day one so that he could chase the title and get the title back at WrestleMania. I would love, oh my God, how great would that be if at WrestleMania we got Bianca Belair winning the title again. And then if we also got Big E winning the title back. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be the biggest. That would be the blackest. The blackest WrestleMania that we ever did see, ladies and gentlemen. That would be the blackest WrestleMania ever. And I would be, as I always am, here for it. I would love it. You would love it. we would all love it. But just, tell us the story. You got to tell us the right story. And in order to get to that story, Big E's going to have to lose that title at some point. So if Big E is going to lose it, then who is going to win it? Well, it could be Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins is Seth Rollins, and he's absolutely an A player. You know what I mean? An A+ player, to use some WWE verbiage. He can be your number one guy. He can be the top villain that Big E is chasing up to WrestleMania. He could definitely do that. It could be Bobby Lashley, because he's a dominating heel. But they were doing something with Bobby Lashley. They were teasing a breakup with him and MVP. They were kind of teasing that him and MVP have some fissures, some divides in their unit, in their union. And so I don't know if that was like, kind of hinting, if that was showing us that we were leaning towards a Bobby Lashley face turn. I mean, Bobby Lashley has a face is an interesting concept. It's an interesting. I'm not against it, but if you're gonna take away his MVP, right? If you're gonna take away his person that does a lot of the talking, his heater, I don't know if that's the best thing for the character. Now look, Bobby Lashley, he has what you need to be a great babyface. You know what I mean? Like, look like he's chiseled out of stone. You know what I mean? He's well established that he's an ass kicker, and so you can believe him against anybody. You can have him doing, dazzling feats of strength. You could put 3-4 people against him and have him beat everybody because, he looks like he could, right? He looks like he could. But I just don't, you know what I mean? Like, WWE is huge on promos, on cutting promos, and I just don't know that Bobby Lashley has that, that WWE league babyface promo style. I just, I don't know. I think if they keep a manager or some sort of mouthpiece with him, then I feel a lot better about that. But, look, if they're going to try it, they're going to try it. But I don't know that Bobby Lashley is going to keep being a heel for a long time, especially if he dumps MVP. So I don't know about that. So who's gonna win? I'm picking KO. I'm picking KO. KO just got paid. They gave him the money, and he's been showing up. Okay, COVID is running wild like Hulkamania, brother, and people are staying home. If you saw Raw this past week, I think Seth Rollins sent in a video for his promo segment. Big E sent in a video for his promo segment. Kevin Owens shows that he's going to show up and be there. And I think maybe that's what you want from your champion. So I don't know if that goes into Vince McMahon's thinking at all, but if I had to guess, I'm going to say, if I'm picking somebody to win, I'm picking Kevin Owens. I'm going to say Kevin Owens walks out of day one as the WWE champion. He's a great heel. You know what I mean? He's a great heel. He's been doing the I'm a liar thing, and that's like, that's just built in as for a heel champion. You're always going to lie, cheat, steal, sneak out of a fight, back off of a match whenever you can. And I think Kevin Owens could be a pick, man. I think Kevin Owens could be the guy to walk out of day one with the WWE Championship. Who do you guys think is going to leave day one as WWE Championship? Drop your comments below. Let me know if you think my pick is off the wall. If you think Big E's going to retain, let me know. Drop your comments below and let me know what you think about that. All right, so another thing that's going to happen at WWE Day 1 is the main event. Obviously, duh. We are getting the first time ever. Just kidding. We're getting Roman versus Brock number 27. And guess what? I'm here for it. I am here for it. Roman versus Brock number 422 is going to be much the same as a match as all their matches are. There's going to be, some heating up. There's going to be some big spots. People are going to get speared through the barricade. Somebody's going to get slammed through a table. We're going to come down to the end. We're going to look at, the Usos are going to interfere. You know what I mean? They have the same match over and over and over again, but it's still good. It's still good. They do it in a way where it's very interesting. And the hook for this one is the Paul Heyman story. So they acted as though they were giving away the end of the Paul Heyman story on SmackDown a few weeks ago, where, Paul Heyman fires up Brock Lesnar to do the swerve with to destroy Sami Zayn. And then Roman just gets tired of seeing Paul Heyman be nice to Brock Lesnar, and so he just confronts him and is basically like, yo, look, are you his guy? Are you my guy? Who you with? Blah, blah, blah. And he fires him. He fires him, and he Superman punches him, and that allegedly is the end of the Roman Reigns-Paul Heyman relationship. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it. We also had Paul Heyman do an interview with Caleb Braxton where he's looking all disheveled and, you know, his beard's halfway grown in. He's like, I think my wrestling career might be over. You know his damn wrestling career ain't over. You know his wrestling career ain't over. This is all the setup to the end of the match on day one. I think it's going to play out something like this, right? You know, Brock's going to get Roman down. It's going to look like he's beat. The Usos are going to interfere. And, you know, Brock's going to beat them too. Roman's going to, you know, come out and he's going to get the advantage on Brock somehow. Then Paul Heyman's going to come out and he's going to look like he's going to help Brock. It'll probably be something like he'll be holding up the title like he's going to hit Roman, and then he'll swerve and hit Brock with it. And, you know, and Roman will pin Brock, get the 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns is leaving WWE day one as the WWE champion. This story is going all the way to WrestleMania, where Brock Lesnar is going to, maybe Brock Lesnar is going to take the time from Roman Reigns then? I don't know, but this is definitely a long-term story arc. And when you have a long-term story arc, it's more than likely going to pay off at WrestleMania. If you're Roman and you've carried the company this far, this long, why not, right? Why not? I said a few weeks ago that I think Seth Rollins is the person to take the title off of Roman Reigns, but it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? Like, there's only a few people who have the pedigree, the qualifications to take the title off Roman Reigns and not have people gag about it, right? One of them is Seth Rollins, and Brock Lesnar is another one. There's very few people who can say, like, oh man, like, you know, this person is legitimate enough of a star, legitimate enough of a champion to where it makes sense in the eyes of the fans that this person could beat Roman Reigns, who has, no pun intended, reigned as champion for such a long time. And you like what I did there, Roman Reigns champion. But I could totally see Brock Lesnar being the one to take the title off Roman Reigns, but I don't think it's going to happen at day one. I think he's going all the way to Mania, and for day one, it's going to be day one of the new year, but it's going to be the same Universal Champion, and that champion is going to be Roman Reigns. All right, so one of my favorite shows of all time recently came to an end. It was sad. But it came to an end, and that was Insecure. I was relatively new to watching Insecure. I mean, my wife and I just picked up, started binge watching it probably about 3 months ago. We went through, 6 seasons of it, probably in about 3 months, but it was that good. It was that good. If you haven't seen the show, go check it out. It's on HBO Max. The whole series is up there. It's 6 seasons long, and it's pretty good, man. Like, I mean, not only is it pretty good, I would say this is a modern day classic, man. Like, so big shout out to Issa Rae, Prentice Penny, Yvonne Orji, Jay Ellis, all the cast and crew, everybody who was a part of that show, because y'all made a modern day classic. Like, y'all absolutely made a modern day classic. Like, we grew up on, Martin, Cosby Show, Family Matters, but we actually lived through this one as adults. That's what made this one different. We lived through this one as adults. And so many shows arrive to their series finale. And I think the directors, the writers, they just get too cute. They get too cute. Like, they want to, create some long-term intrigue. They want to create some conversation about, what did that ending mean? What's going to happen to Tony? Where will this ever go? Is there a movie coming up? Right? Like, I think people just get too cute, and that's just the wrong way to go. We've seen time and time again the outrage from people when a show that they have invested literally years of their life of tuning in on a week after week basis, just leave them hanging with a crappy ending. And Insecure didn't do that. They didn't do that. They wrapped everything up nicely and neatly. And how did they do that? They chose love. They chose love. They chose love and happiness. Yes, thank you. Thank you for my delayed reaction. but they chose love and they chose happiness. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. I think like too often when we're telling stories, especially stories of love, modern day stories of love, when we're telling stories about, like self-discovery, especially those of like Black women, right? Too often they feel like that the answer has to be, and still she persisted, right? It was hard. He was trash. The friends, everybody was messed up, but still she persisted. Because in life, often that is the case. Because women are amazing. I love y'all for for all that you are. And so often you are left with a tough hand to deal with, and you just got to find a way to figure it out. You just have to persist no matter what. This is true. But you know what? You know what? Sometimes you get it right. Sometimes you figure it out. Sometimes your friends aren't trash. Sometimes your friends are there for you, and sometimes you're there for them. And sometimes, even though stuff gets hard, right? Life gets in the way. People move. People have, trials in their families, negative major events in their families. Sometimes people are still there for each other. And those friendships last sometimes, not all the time, right? But once in a while they do, right? Sometimes they do. And it's good to show. It's okay to show the happiness. It's okay to show that over this episode, I think, this series finale, I think, spanned like at least anywhere from 3 to 5 years. But they showed, like, stuff just happening over a undefined period of time, but it was definitely years, and you saw people being there for each other over the course of years. You know what I mean? Like in real and meaningful ways, and it was dope, man. It was dope. It was just dope to see, right? It's almost like, like I talk so much about wrestling, right? And this is like, like with the New Day, like so many people wanted those brothers to break up and do the traditional wrestling thing where one person turns on the other person and beats everybody up, and now, he's the bad guy. But they elected to not do it that way, and that was dope. They said, hey, look, it's okay for us to show healthy relationships among Black men, right? I'm still talking about the wrestling thing here. The New Day said it's okay for us to get out here and model that. Yo, look, it's cool, man. Like, we're Black men, and you know what I mean. We got each other's backs, and we can do our own thing, but still come together, and it don't have to be no backstabbing. Like, that's a conscious, intentional decision. And back to Insecure now, right? Like, when they ended the show, I'm not gonna give y'all no spoilers, but they chose love. They chose happiness. And when it comes to love, especially, right? That's a tough one, man. Again, especially for Black women, because listen, man, as men, we put y'all through some, like we make it hard on y'all. But in this case, it was okay to show this character go through her process, right? Go through her growth, go through her ups, go through her downs, but she ended on love. They chose love for the character at the end because, again, sometimes you get it right in life. A lot of times we don't. But sometimes you do, and it's good to celebrate that. Listen, sending your customers home happy is never a bad thing. This show was, it was a moment in time that that everybody who was a part of it is gonna remember. Like I said, I wasn't watching this show for 6 years. I've been watching this show for like 3-4 months. But of course, I saw all the conversation. You can't get away from anything in this world of social media. So I knew of the characters, and I wasn't really into the storylines though. And once I started watching the show, I was absolutely hooked, man. This show is phenomenal. And this will be a show that, much like we do The Wire, right? We'll always reference, some of the wild stuff that took place in this show. We'll always reference some of the characters in this show. And it's just dope, man. Like I said, this show was a great moment in time. I'm glad I got to be a part of it. And, I may even go back and watch it again. You know what I mean? I may go back and watch it again because it was, this show was fire. So shout out to everybody who was a part of the show. Shout out to everybody who watched the show, who enjoyed it. But you know what? Maybe my opinion is incorrect on this, okay? It's not, but maybe my opinion is incorrect on this. Let me know what y'all think. Did y'all like the finale of Insecure? Did y'all think they hit it right? You know what I mean? Did y'all think that, did you like the way they ended it for Issa? Did you like the way they ended it for all the friends? What did y'all think? What did y'all think about the finale of Insecure? To me, I thought it was excellent. And I think we need to do more storytelling where we can tell happy stories. We can tell black people ending stories in a happy way, man. Like, it's dope. I'm here for it, and I'll probably go back and watch it again. All right, so it's December 2021, and this month marks the 7-year anniversary for one of my favorite albums, 2014 Forest Hills Drive. This is the album that changed J. Cole's career and pretty much got him out of Drake's shadow. I mean, if you looked at the way J. Cole was being packaged and presented by his label up to that point, you could tell that they pretty much wanted, they wanted to have their own version of Drake, right? Like this clean-cut black boy, non-threatening, do a little harmonizing, a little, melodies with his music. And that's the way they were presenting him, right? And when you listen to the stories that he was telling in his music, there was a lot of pressure around that, right? A lot of pressure to, get that hit single, to get out there, to get into the pop space. And you look at like the kind of the ups and downs he went through on his first 2 albums, right? He had Workout, boom, that single got him, pop radio play all over the country. Then he comes back on his next album and does Crooked Smile. And when I heard Crooked Smile, I thought Crooked Smile, I was like, yo, this is it. I was like, this is the one. This is the song that's going to make J. Cole like, poppity pop star, right? And then when I saw the video for Crooked Smile, I was like, oh, he decided to be true to himself. Which you can't hate on you can never hate on an artist for being true to their vision, for doing stuff, you know what I mean? Because he never saw himself in that way. But then it came time for, for his third album. And, for 2014 Forest Hills Drive, he decided, hey, look, man, like, I've been trying to do this my record label's way. I've been trying to do this my mentor's way. And I got to be true to myself. You know what I mean? I got to be true to myself. So, he put out the album with no promos and no features. And the album still sold like crazy. The album hit. And J. Cole was out of here, ladies and gentlemen. That album changed everything for the boy J. Cole. That was it. And I gotta tell you, man, like when J. Cole went on tour that summer with the Forest Hills Drive tour, and I went and saw that show. They came to the Xfinity Amphitheater out in Hartford, and it was a dope show. And one of the things I remember most about seeing that show was seeing Big Sean and YG open up for Cole. And that honestly put in perspective for me just how successful he was in terms of the numbers that he was doing, right? Like, I always liked Cole, you know what I mean? He was doing like, his Dollar in a Dream shows, where he would like, he'd get a venue and just charge fans $1 to come in for the show. And I thought the type of stuff was just always like so dope, man, so dope. And it turns out it worked, right? Because doing this all over the country for a number of years, he really connected with fans in a real way. And when I saw that amphitheater was packed, there was no free space. And like I said, he had some of y'all favorite artists opening up for him. Like there's no way to shake that. There's no other way to shake that. Like they were his opening acts. Like, I love Big Sean. I thought Big Sean had a phenomenal album that year. Dark Paradise, whatever it was called. Dark Sky Paradise. I thought that album was phenomenal. But he was opening up for J. Cole. You know what I mean? Like, so Cole was on a different level, and seeing him in that concert actually, it crystallized that. You got to see that he was actually on another level. He was actually ascending to a higher place in terms of his status as an artist. And I just thought that was like so dope, man. That's the last concert I've been to. I was going to when there was like a 3-week period this year where we could kind of take our mask off, and then I got excited. I was going to buy some tickets to some concerts, and I saw J. Cole going on tour. When I saw the prices for them tickets, I was like, Maybe not this year. Which actually turned out to be a good thing because, COVID came back with a vengeance and he was like, look at me. I'm the captain now. So COVID's not going away. So I'm glad I didn't buy no concert tickets because I really ain't trying to be in no crowd full of people and I don't know what they got, where they been, whose air they been breathing. You know what I'm saying? Just now I'm getting down these days. But so there was so many great songs on that Forest Hill Drive album. If I had to pick one that sticks in my head the most, like just at this moment, it'd be Love Yours, man. Love Yours was one that I loved the most. Just because I thought that song really just captured the whole spirit of that album, right? Like J.COLE talked a lot in that album about like, finding love, like, and just finding the idea of love, right? And letting that be like your driving, your motivational force, and being the thing that pushes you. And like that song Love Yours, man, I thought that song just hit home so well, man, because I think, like, again, as people, we can tend to look around at what we don't have and neglect what we do have, and just to remember, like, man, there's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that was probably one of my favorite songs off that album, and that album was phenomenal. And like I said, man, if you look at it, J. Cole's never looked back. If you look at him now, like even physically, right? Like he's a totally different appearing artist than he's been, prior to that. You know what I mean? Like, so that album changed everything for J. Cole, and and the music's been phenomenal. You know what I mean? Very introspective, very heartfelt. Yeah, man. So like, shout out 2014 Forest Hills Drive. That was a dope album. I'm probably gonna go listen to it again later today just because it was that good. The album, that CD sat in my car for like a year. I mean, like, I didn't listen to it every day, but I just never changed it out for another CD. Like that CD sat in my car from the time I got it for at least a year, and I didn't change it out for another CD. Like it was that good. I enjoyed that album that much. So shout out to J. Cole. Congratulations on the anniversary of one of your best pieces of work. All right, that's all we got for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for listening. Listen, real quick, man, go ahead and like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Do all that good stuff for your boy. If you listen to this on SoundCloud, drop it in somebody's, in somebody's comments. Email it to somebody, tweet it to somebody, retweet it, tag a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. That's the most important, best thing you can do for this show. If you got questions, you can email the show at talkingaboutpod@gmail.com. You can tweet the show at talkingaboutpod. Listen, man, like I said, thank you guys so much. You guys got so many options for entertainment out here in this digital space. Thank you guys all for just taking a few minutes to kick it with me and listen to some stuff that I think is dope, man. You know what I mean? Like I said, but I'm very interested in your feedback. Go ahead and drop your comments on your boy. Let me know what you think of this work I'm doing. Like I said, I hope you enjoy it. I enjoy bringing it to you, and yeah.